All right, it is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and talk, what we got to talk about? We got to talk about the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. The more I'm thinking about this, the worse it is. Carlos Beltran was supposed to be the New York Mets manager, right? He was hired as New York Mets manager, and the reason why he did not become New York Mets manager is because he played a central role in the Houston Astros trash can banging cheating scheme. Like, he was one of the guys. He wasn't, well, he didn't really know anything. He's one of the guys who created the fucking system. So the Mets, we don't want to touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. I don't understand how he is elected. I mean, I understand how he got the votes. I'm just completely gobsmacked that Beltran was elected to the Hall of Fame. He was practically thrown out of baseball, and they're putting him in the Hall. Now, where I'm going to be surprising, you think that I'm going to say, why didn't Pete Rose get in? No, I don't think Pete Rose should ever get in. I'm going to say Pete Rose's quote-unquote crimes against baseball were worse. I'm going to say that betting on your own team, even if you're betting on your own team to win, is worse than what Beltran did. I just don't get it. I don't understand. Why didn't the Mets keep him? If it's okay that he did that and we're going to forgive him a couple of years later, I'm completely bewildered. And I know some baseball writers who I respect, Tim Kirkjian for one, they voted for him. I guess they just said no problem. But by this logic, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, put them all in, right? Just put them all in. Because the message that we're sending to kids, cheating fucking pays. But it has to be a particular kind of cheating that we can tolerate, I guess. The pharmaceutical enhancements were a bridge too far. But, the fact that I think they were going to beat the Yankees in 2017 and 2019 anyway, but the fact that it tilted the outcome, the fact that Aaron Judge, it cost him the 2017 MVP because of how much better Altuve was, because he knew what fucking pitches were coming to home plate in games played in Houston. Aaron Judge did not have that advantage. Judge should have won Rookie of the Year, and he should have won MVP in 2017. So, if Aaron Judge is mad right now, I can't blame him. Now, in a lesser controversial, which has nothing to do with Beltran, Andruw Jones was selected to the Hall of Fame in, I think, his 9th year of eligibility. And Andruw Jones is a guy who in his prime was for sure Hall of Famer. The question was, did he do enough? Did he have enough of an offensive prime to justify Hall of Fame inclusion? And you have players like Dale Murphy, a fellow former Atlanta Brave, of course, much earlier, when Joe Torre managed the Braves from that era, the early 80s. The thing with Andruw Jones, though, is that he was such a great outfielder, and particularly center field. That's that's kind of the money position out there. He got 10 Gold Gloves, and he didn't just play center field. He played it as well as the guys who are generally acknowledged to be the greatest defensive center fielders, one of whom we have a decent amount of footage of, and the other we really don't. But the two guys are Willie Mays and Joe DiMaggio. And that's a big part of how Andruw Jones ended up getting I think he got about 78%. You need 75 for induction with the regular Baseball Writers of America, the BWAA, Baseball Writers Association of America. The Veterans Committee, with Don Mattingly and some of the other guys from that, that's different. I think it's like 20 guys, and you have to get 3/4 of that. It's something in that ballpark. But Andruw Jones, his first year on the ballot, got less than 10%, which is crazy low. Don Mattingly got 29% of the vote in his first year, the regular, with the regular writers, and then he just kind of was stagnant. And I was really hoping that Donnie was going to get in with this last vote of the Veterans Committee or whatever they're calling it, but he didn't. He really didn't even get that close, and that was kind of disappointing. But the thing that with Andruw Jones was that he glided to the baseball. And Andruw Jones, it isn't just that he was quick and that he could run fast, certainly in his days with the Atlanta Braves, and he had a cannon for a throwing arm. It's the fact that he consistently got breaks on a baseball that didn't make sense, almost that he had some kind of an extrasensory perception that enabled him to, as soon as a ball was hit, he already knew where to go, and he was almost never wrong. And the thing with Joe DiMaggio, There is not that much footage of him playing center field. There's almost none of it in his prime. But long before Andruw Jones made his major league debut, and Andruw Jones was a 19-year-old kid in the 1996 World Series, the fabled 96 World Series between the Yankees and the Braves. And, you know, there's a version of the Matrix in which the Braves win that World Series. They win the first two at the stadium. They blew the Yankees out in games 1 and 2. And then they just go ahead and, let's say, win the series in 5. And Andruw Jones's Hall of Fame case will look better because he hit 2 home runs within about 45 minutes in game 1 of that World Series. And he was just a teenager, just dazzling people with his skills. But going back to when someone like myself, a Generation Xer, was growing up as a baseball fan, the number of old school Yankees and old time baseball players of the kind of Ted Williams and then later Mickey Mantle era, whether it was Yogi Berra from the Yankees, whether it was Whitey Ford, whether it was Phil Rizzuto, whether it was Billy Martin, the way they described Joe DiMaggio, it never looked like Joe made a difficult catch. He was always standing under the ball. And none of us could ever figure out how is it that he's always standing under the baseball. The only guy I've ever seen play the outfield, forget center, but center field because there's more room is the reason why Jones is special here. That's how Andruw Jones played center. He played the position the way the old school guys always swore how Joe DiMaggio played the position. You almost never saw Joe make a difficult catch. He was always waiting for the ball to come down. So the fact that Andruw Jones, his gliding to the baseball, the number of times it appeared that a ball was in the gap, and Jones, with a smile on his face, he always seemed to have a little bit of a smile, would have already camped under it, and with that little smile and off to the side, put it away like it was nothing. It was not right that he got less than 10% in his first ballot, but that was a year, I forgot who was up. It might have been Griffey Jr., but it was a year where there were a lot of big hitters, and I think a number of guys were inducted into the Hall of Fame in the year that Andruw Jones only got 7 or 8% of the vote. I'm happy he's in because he did change the way that we looked at outfield play, and he was that good in the field. And man, he hit 432 homers, and his later era with the Yankees in like the 2011 range, he was still a pretty good player, even though by baseball standards, he kind of got old fast. By the time he was in his early 30s, he was past it, certainly as an offensive performer, but he had his moments with the Yankees, and he was always dangerous. You never felt comfortable if you were the opposing team with him coming up to the plate because, man, could he hit that ball. But yeah, as a Yankee fan, my memories of Andruw Jones in the 96 World Series were hitting the 2 homers off Pettit. I think he hit them both off Pettit. But the 2 homers in game 1, which was a fucking blowout. Imagine the Yanks, their first World Series game in 15 years. And they go out there and they lose 12-1. 12-1, the first World Series game at the stadium in 15 years. But then the other memory of Andruw Jones is a good memory for Yankee fans and a bad memory for Braves fans and Yankee haters. He was the left fielder in that particular game. He was not playing center. Marquise Grissom was the Braves' starting center fielder that season. Jones was kind of a relatively late season call-up. But Andruw Jones was in left field in the 8th inning of Game 4 with the Yankees down 2-1 in the series and down 6-3 with 2 on and 1 out in the 8th inning. And Mark Wohlers threw a high slider, and Jim Leyritz hit what just appeared to be a long fly ball to left field. It didn't seem like he really hit it that hard. And it was Andruw Jones in left field. And if you watch the video, readily available on YouTube, Andruw Jones does the thing where he's almost gearing himself up to jump at the wall to try to bring the ball back. But then at a certain split second, he realizes this ball is way over my head. I don't have a fucking play on it. And to see that ball slam into the retaining wall behind the main wall, and Andruw Jones just standing there like he can't believe these motherfucking Yankees just tied the score, and obviously we ended up winning that game and winning that World Series. So those are my memories of Andruw Jones, a 19-year-old kid, incredible talent. He was not playing his best position of center, but that had nothing to do with Leyritz's home run. But I don't understand. And Tim Kirkjian this morning on ESPN, when he talked about voting for Beltran, he really didn't explain I'm just okay with the fact that he helped to devise that cheating system. I don't get it. Why didn't the Mets just let him be the manager? Why did they want to get rid of him? He's not good enough to be a baseball manager, but he's good enough for the Hall of Fame. It's all bad. It puts the Hall of Fame into it has them in a very negative light. You know, I'm sorry I get myself worked up, but you understand where I'm coming from. I don't understand. I don't want Pete Rose to get in though. Just so we're clear, I think what Rose did was worse, but I think this Beltran thing, it's probably, in my mind, it's comparable to the PED scandal. I guess I'm more okay with him going in than Bonds and Clemens, but I think they might as well just let everybody in now. The hay is out of the barn, to use a phrase uttered by one of the Atlanta Braves fans during the 1996 World Series, meaning that the Braves were going to win. That was actually Game 4. This game's over when the Braves took the 6-0 lead. But really, that's all I wanted to say. I'm confused. I'm a little bit, as you can tell, agitated. I don't get it. I think that Beltran, maybe in 5 years or something, if he had shown enough remorse for the fact that he took part in that fuckery, it was all bad. And I don't think that they beat the Yankees those 2 times because of the cheating scandal, but it just looks bad. It was a bad thing for the sport. And the fact that none of the players were held accountable, it seemed that Beltran took the worst of it because he had retired. That's just not cool. The way that MLB handled it, it was all bad. Because I thought they were going to vacate the World Series that one year, and they didn't do that. They didn't do anything. They barely gave him a slap on the wrist. The worst thing that happened was that Beltran didn't get to take the Mets job, and it's all negative. So, yeah, I'm mad about this Hall of Fame situation. I'm upset that Don Mattingly didn't get in, and I am happy that Andruw Jones did. So positive, negative, and more scrutiny for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, either fortunately or unfortunately. I mean, what are you going to do, right? There's always been controversy with the Hall of Fame with who should get in and who shouldn't, even when there weren't drug scandals. You look at the players who hung around for so long and then ended up getting in, and people who started off not really getting much of a percentage, similar to Andruw Jones, and then ending up getting in with more than 80%. You say, well, what? The stats stayed the same. You know, you could drive yourself nuts. But I guess it all comes down to what John Sterling says. It's baseball, Susan. Love to talk about it. Love to argue about it. I prefer arguing about baseball, arguing about movies. To me, it's more fun. And take what I say with an enormous grain of salt, because I am just a guy with an opinion, but an old school baseball fan who loved Andruw Jones and was very disappointed when somebody who I held in high esteem and a phenomenal baseball player, a switch hitter with power from both sides, a la Mickey Mantle, or I guess Eddie Murray is probably a better comparison than Mickey. But disappointed that he got in, happy that Andruw got in, and in the immortal words of Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. Peace.